There you go.
Okay, so welcome everyone to the Tuesday Night Call, the 8th Chakra it's company's Tuesday Night Call. We're so excited to be here. This is the second episode of our newest series. And for those of you just coming in, please make sure that you're muted and that your video is off. We really appreciate that. And again, this is the second episode of our newest series, which is called Bodies and Channels, A Divine Perspective. And last week we had an amazing call about the light bodies, and we joked so much because Bonnie and I had no idea anything about the light bodies. Well, we thought we knew a lot. At least I thought I knew a lot. And then when we started talking about it, it was like we didn't really know what was going on. But amazing information came through, and that's what's going to happen today in this call about the Merkaba. So this is our flagship product, and we're just so passionate. Bonnie and I started the 8th Chakra Company about, I don't know, 3 years ago, maybe it's even more. And we're so passionate about helping people to access their own information. And so we do this program as a gift, and we just love it. We just absolutely love it. If this is the first time that you're joining us, please, we are so excited that you're joining us and that you're coming in here to receive the beautiful downloads and gifts that we're here to receive. The 8th Chakra Company is all about helping us all to remember who we are, to raise our frequency, and to master what it is to be human. And both Bonnie and I are expert Akashic Records readers, and we're mastery level alchemists. So we bring a whole new twist to the information that we bring in. So here we go. Bonnie, let's talk about what makes us different, and let's make it fast so we can move on to all this new information we got going on.
Fast. Well, most of this is going to be a reiteration of what Lily just said. The very first thing is that we do work intimately with the angelic realm, with the Akashic realm, the masters, teachers, and loved ones in the Akashic realm to bring you this high frequency healing and wisdom. And it has been a really fun experience for us to just watch the growth. How we first started this, when we were just giving information and exploring stuff, to now where when you get on these calls, you are experiencing high-powered healing. Lots of people are talking about it, and so it makes it very exciting to be here for the full hour with us. The second thing is that we do open the Akashic Records for the 8th Chakra community before we get on the call. And the information starts to come in. It even actually came in before we opened the records, right, Lily? The stuff started to coming in, and we love being able to access the Akashic Records and to be able to access our own higher chakra information, to bring in information that you may or may not know, that you may or may not have a perspective on. And we did that last week with the light bodies. We're going to do it again with the Merkaba. And the other thing that makes it very different here is that we set the intention purposely every single week to all of us to step into our remembrance and our knowing about what's available to us. Lily and I both understand that we already know how to be spiritual beings. We have our spiritual beings before we come in here, and then we come into this body, and we're kind of doing a what the heck is going on? What is all of this stuff? We're used to creating like this, and instead we have to learn how to manifest and handle things and run by the rules here on this planet. So we set the intention. We want to remember what it's like to be a high frequency individual. We want to bring in lots of powerful information for all of us regarding the topic that we're talking about. Tonight we are talking about the Merkaba, and we are definitely here to clear out more low frequencies for everybody who's on this call, whether you listen to it live or you listen to it later, or you listen to it live and you listen to it later. You are going to get incredible healing, incredible information. It is the intention that we set with every single phone call. So it is going to be a powerhouse night. We just had the new moon yesterday. We are still running underneath that new moon energy, shifting what no longer serves us and really setting ourselves up for where our soul is intending us to go. So let's take it away.
Yes, absolutely. So if you're new to the call, we want to point out to you that this first half of the call, as Bonnie said, is interactive. So we want you to participate, whether you can use your chat in the bottom of your screen. If you scroll around in there, you'll see the chat. There's a place where you can click for the chat. If you click on that, and also participants, you can see the participants and you can raise your hand. We do want to call on you, and if you chat with us between Bonnie and I, we'll catch you. One of us will catch you and either say your question out loud, and if it's super, super exciting and we think you won't be too shy, we might unmute you and ask you to let us hear your voice so that it's not just Bonnie and my voice the whole call. And so that's going to be in the first half of the call. And then the second half, we're going to be bringing in the information from the Akashic realm and also from the angelic realm and doing all the healings. So we definitely want you to participate. And the last thing I want to say about that too is that your participation is really important, because when we do start bringing in information in the second half of the call, the information in the Akashic Records is so vast that your questions and your comments actually help us to navigate those records and bring forth the information that's most relevant for this community. That means you on this call. So make sure that you do participate. And here we go then. All right, so let's open it up and make sure that you raise your hand. Well, we're going to start the conversation like we always do. So just before the call, I went into a little meditation, and I sat down, and because the Merkaba is something that we don't hear about too much. I mean, we hear about the chakra system and we hear about light bodies, and even that we don't know too much about. But the Merkaba is something that really only came into my conscious awareness in the last couple of years. And so I was delighted to be able to receive some of the information that's been coming through. And just before the call, I went into a meditation, and I asked my soul. I just said, "Dear soul, I sometimes refer to my soul by his name. Sometimes I refer to my soul by just dear essence, or dear soul, or dear higher self, or dear I am presence. Give me some information about the Merkaba." And I said it kind of like in a naughty way, just like, give it to me now before the call. And I hardly ever do that, but I think it's because I am very excited about this topic, because there was a really fun element that I was sharing with Bonnie when we were talking about this topic, is that the way that I experience the Merkaba, and we all have a Merkaba, just like we all have light bodies. And, oh, wait, I want to just pause for a second, because Bonnie, I want you to explain what it looks like. What does the Merkaba look like? And then I want to talk about the Zor ball.
Okay. Well, what was funny for me was that last week I actually was asking, show me the Merkaba. And what I saw was a giant container, and it was just like a giant box, but it was much bigger than I am in width, and much bigger than I am in height. And it was just kind of like a glass box, or how they would make it like an invisible box when you're watching the superhero movies. And then I actually was like, yeah, but what does it actually look like? That is my analogy, right? That's my analogy that my soul gave me, was that it was like a giant container. But I love that it's a star tetrahedron. And I was telling you, it cracks me up, because I have to continually go, star tetrahedron, what is that? What is that? And I'm Jewish. I should know what a star tetrahedron is, because it actually is a multi-dimensional version of the Jewish star. So the triangle that goes up like this, and then the triangle that goes like this, that's a little harder to do, is a star tetrahedron. And it actually kind of crosses each other, and you have to picture it in not only three-dimensional form, but also multi-dimensional. So if your brain can handle it, if you start making it into 5 dimensions, 7 dimensions, 10 dimensions, 12 dimensions, if you kind of think of it like a pop-out book kind of thing, that's really how the Merkaba looks when you look at it, not in an analogy form like I was looking at it, but how most people will describe it. So then Lily was telling me how she saw it, which was so freaking cool.
So yeah, it is really cool, because I do see the tetrahedron, the triangles upside down, interposed on each other, but I see it like Bonnie described it like a box, like a crystal box, and I also see it in crystal, but I also see a lot of gold lines, and I see it kind of like more like circular, like a round circle, and it goes out. I've seen a couple this week that were literally up to 12 feet in diameter outside of the auric field. And it was really interesting. But anyway, I was telling Bonnie that it reminded me of that picture of the Vitruvian Man from Leonardo da Vinci, who drew the Vitruvian Man, that has they use it in like medical circles. And then Bonnie reminded me about this ball called the Zorb ball. I looked it up and it's a Zorb ball. You get inside this ball and you literally can bounce around and move all over the place, and they have them, they bounce on water. And that's how I feel that the Merkaba is. It's like a vehicle that you can get into, and you can literally like extend your arms and you can move around in it and move. And how I have been getting the information is that this is literally a light vehicle that allows us to transition or travel between dimensions, and it is multidimensional. There's a lot of light that comes into it, and it brings in information from the universe, from the multiverse, and it connects us with source. So the awareness of the Merkaba helps us to connect more deeply with our own truth, to connect with source, to connect with the divine. And through the information, because it is multidimensional, we can actually travel through dimensions inside of the Merkaba. So that was kind of cool for me to see that, and also to see that awareness of the Merkaba helps us to maintain the integrity of our light bodies. Is how I can more verbalize it. It's kind of like it's almost like a protective shield around us that helps us to maintain the integrity of our light bodies, and it connects our light bodies, which are all interconnected anyway. So that's a little bit about how I see it. And it's a lot of different colors too. There's a lot of colors involved in the Merkaba. There's gold and there's yellow and orange and a lot of blues and greens. I mean, it's like rainbow all and filled with crystal little tiny molecules everywhere. So it's really, really beautiful. And if you Google it, you can see a lot of different images. A lot of people see it in different ways, and it is represented in a lot of different ways. But what's really fun is when you get to see it with your own third eye, with your own clairvoyance, and it just brings a whole nother element to it. So we want to teach you how to do that. And we're getting a download right now that's going to help us to be able to activate. And because everything that we do, that Bonnie and I are always talking about, is helping you to discover how to connect with your own truth, how to be more connected with the information that you've been carrying with you for eons and eons. So it's the same thing with all the downloads that we receive. We're helping to be vehicles, or let's say be instruments of helping them to come through. But really, this is all for you to experience it on your own, and for you to learn eventually how to do it for yourself. So we're going to be talking about that. All right. So let's open it up. Who's got questions? Or Bonnie, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, if there are people who have questions, people who, I know there's people who see that are on this call, if they want to pop into the chat, their perspective on the Merkaba, that would be really cool. We are going to continue to talk about it, but it's always nice to get other people's perspective. Jill, the Merkaba absolutely requires healing, just like everything else in our body, and that is a great lead into some of what we see there. As Lily was talking about, it is a container, and so there are lots of things in the container. The way I have seen it is the math equations, the geometrics, the science equations, all of those things exist in the Merkaba as well. And it shows up for me as I'm looking at it now. It shows up to me as very kind of crystalline, and I'm always working on getting that sense of iridescence. There's always that iridescent quality to it, and all of the healing that goes on in it. There's lots of high frequencies in there, but there are absolutely low frequencies in there as well. It is no different. The Merkaba is no different than any one of our chakras, an organ, anything in our body, our skin. There are low frequencies everywhere. And so we do want to work on healing all of that as well. Those low frequencies, pain, fear, anger, unconsciousness, unworthiness, shame, blame, fear. Oh, I did say fear, didn't I? More fear, more fear, more fear, more fear. All of those things exist in there as well. And so all of us on this call, whether you're listening to it live or you're listening to it later, are receiving more healing alchemy that is going through your Merkaba, that is allowing to move more of those low frequencies out. And for me, I have been seeing the Merkaba showing up as a way of us communicating with Source. That triangle, and a lot of websites talk about it, the triangle that is pointing up is allowing us to connect with Source. The triangle that is pointing down is allowing us to connect with Mother Earth more of the grounding frequencies. And so we want to keep this just as clean as we want to keep any other part of our body. Move out the low frequencies, whatever happens to be stashed there. Because for me, it kind of shows up like, oh, look, we have some extra anger. Let's throw it out. Let's throw it out to the Merkaba. Let's throw it out to the third chakra. Let's throw it out to the sixth chakra, wherever it happens to be. And so we absolutely do want to heal that. Lily, you have a perspective on that?
Well, one of the, you were talking about iridescence and crystals, and I was seeing the Merkaba being a little bit porous, and that's what allows information to come through. But and I was describing it earlier like like cheesecloth, but that's really not accurate, because it is more solid. It's more molecularly structured, much more solid than a cheesecloth would be. And the crystals that are there are definitely much more powerful of a vision to have. So I like that a lot better. But the porous piece of it is what I was referring to, that I felt that the information comes in and out through there, and it gives us perspective about the multiple universes or the multiverses that are available out there. We're just now really starting to understand how vast the multiverse is and how many dimensions there are. And Bonnie was describing if you could imagine 3 dimensions, 4 dimensions, 5 dimensions, 7 dimensions, I mean, we are capable of, between all the geometrics that are available in the universe, we can experience literally dozens of dimensions. It's so hard for us to comprehend that with our physical 3-dimensional brain, to think about that in the multiverse, there are dimensions over dimensions over dimensions that we can travel through, and that we can have experience, and that we can have consciousness through. So I think that the Merkaba gives us the ability to touch upon some of those worlds. It allows us to do that. And I think that one of the ways that we can accomplish that is through intensive meditation, utilizing intention and contemplation to focus our attention in that space. Imagine that Merkaba around us and connect with our heart, and then ask for information and ask to see it. We're practicing a lot in this series about opening our channels. And right now I'm definitely seeing a download coming through for the clairvoyance channels for all of us that are on this call. And this is important because we're trained to kind of think that if we see it, we could believe more of it. So we're bringing in some downloads now. So it helps us open up our third eye so that we can see more. And if you allow yourself, you can even close your eyes right now. Allow yourself, with your eyes closed, center your attention in your third eye, and then ask your higher self, ask your I am presence, your soul, to show you your Merkaba. And then just allow it to come very gently for you. Don't put any pressure in it. Don't get upset if you don't see something right away, but allow yourself to experience it and to see it with your third eye, because you're getting a download right now to help you with that. So yeah. Cool.
And you know what I love about that is that as you were talking, it's very clear that just because we describe it in a certain way does not mean that's how you are going to see it. Just like last week when I asked to see it, I saw it like a sort of like a big box, and it's the way I describe it is like the way they do invisibility, to make it like you can see it, but it's not necessarily that you can see it. And so you may get any kind of reference for it. You may actually see it in a gift box, is one of the analogies that I just got. And you see it in a gift box tied with a bow. That does not mean you are messing it up. It's another aspect of us learning to access our own information and to understand that we get references in ways that we can understand, right? And that does not mean that Lily is right and I'm wrong, or the reverse of that. It's just that my soul is going to give it to me in a format that I'm going to be able to understand. It's really entertaining, because what I just saw was a box with musical notes and music kind of running through it. And I was like, oh yeah, that would be how Robin, who is our pianist on the call, I'm sure there's others, but you might get a reference that's like that, which would make more sense to you, that you'd be like, oh yeah, I got that. So see, Eileen has said she sees sapphire blue diamond shapes spinning. And that is another aspect of it, is the spinning quality. And may see it one spinning one direction and one spinning the other direction as well. Have you seen that before, Lily?
I have, yes. There's a lot of spinning going on. In fact, there's a lot of spinning going on in our energetic fields all the time. It's a little bit of the way that energy works. Energy works in a lot of circular motions. So, but that brings me to Rosanna's question. So how can I, knowing all of this, be applied practically? How can I relate to it in a way that its value can make a difference for me? That's a great, great question. What I have noticed is that the Merkaba has lines of communication into all the light bodies. So let's say that you are experiencing, let's say you're experiencing a stomach ache. So you could actually go inside and ask, what is the connection with my stomach physically? How is it connected to my emotional body, my mental body? What is the connection there? Where's the source of this pain or this discomfort? Is it more emotional? Is it more mental? Is it more physical? And then when you get that question answered, and you will have that question answered, then you can look to your Merkaba and ask for information to come through the Merkaba, because the Merkaba has lines of communication. And like I said, it's porous. So you can actually bring in information into the Merkaba from the multiverse that will give you a solution, or that will give you comfort to what's going on with your stomach. And that's just, to me, that's awesome, because we don't normally think about the Merkaba as a source of information. We don't normally think about the Merkaba as having lines of communication that ties in to all our light bodies. This is all really new information that's coming through for us. And so right now we're getting another download. Oh my God. This is a major download that's coming in for us, and it's coming into the central nervous system. And I'm definitely seeing lines of communication, and it's coming right from the top of the Merkaba. Everybody is receiving a download from your Merkaba. Oh my God, this is really, really crazy. Not crazy, it's just wild. So the top of each person on this call's Merkaba is, I'm just seeing something activating really, really at the top. And it looks like a little diamond shape. It's clear, it's white. Well, it's clear like a diamond. It's not a diamond, but it's some kind of a quartz, and it's right at the top. And there's something coming through, a light coming through right at the top, and it's filtering down into the central nervous system. So it's a line of communication into the central nervous system, some kind of information being downloaded for us right now. Ooh, we're going to get more clarity on that later on in this call, but right now we're just getting the download, and wow, it's just really, really powerful. Wow.
Yeah, lots of warmth, lots of love, lots of clarity coming in for all of us. And that's always what we want, is to have more clarity, more understanding, more knowing about what is going on. Because, you know, as Lily and I are always talking about, once we know more, we can be clear and move forward in a direction that is really so much easier than we think life is. I love that Hadar just is like, I don't know if I missed this or not, but what was the connection to our masters, teachers, and loved ones with the Merkaba? And the masters, teachers, and loved ones are actually those masters and guides that you see in the Akashic records. The Merkaba is actually an energetic body that exists around your physical body. So there isn't any direct relationship from that perspective, although information comes in from the Akashic records, from source, from the universe into our Merkaba. So it is more of, if we all saw energy, when we were talking about energy, we'd be really clear. Oh, the Merkaba, yeah, I see that. Got it. Yours looks a little dirty. Let's shine it up here. And yours has got some sparkle. I'd like to have some more of that. Please, can I have more of that? And we would call that in. So thank you for asking the question, because like Lily and I say, there is no question that is too silly, you know, doesn't make sense. We love that.
Yeah, but another thing I want to say about that, Hadar, is that you might ask that same question about all this series that we're in, because we're talking about bodies and channels, and the Akashic Records is not directly related to bodies and channels, except that Bonnie and I use the Akashic Records to get information. And so the Akashic Records is a great source. It's a huge library of information about anything that we want to ask. It doesn't matter. The light bodies that we're going to be talking about in this series, the channels we're going to talk about in this series, none of this is inside the Akashic Records, just like our bodies are not inside the Akashic Records. But the Akashic Record stores memories, so you can actually get information in the Akashic Records about the memories associated with your Merkaba. So that brings a really great question that we could ask that I have no idea about, and that is, do we carry the same Merkaba from one lifetime to another? That's a great question. We'll see what the masters, teachers, and loved ones have to say about that when we start bringing that information, because that's kind of interesting. I mean, we don't carry the same physical body, that's for sure, right? The physical body dies each lifetime, but our soul goes from one lifetime to another. And are other light bodies carried from one lifetime to another? Do we carry the same mental body and the same emotional body from one lifetime to another? I would think of an emotional body has more resistance to different lifetimes than a physical body which dies and goes back into the earth. So that's very interesting. We shall find out.
Although it is interesting because the light bodies are the exact replica of our physical body. So if for some reason we are we have some anomaly in our body, that is going to show up in our all of our other bodies as well. So it may not be. I'm just waiting to get the exact information. I was like, isn't that interesting? Let's ask those kinds of questions as well. So a great question. And, just as a reminder that everybody does have a Merkaba, and there is also, somebody asked this question prior to us getting on the call, how can we charge our Merkabas? What do we need to do with them? And I know there's a lot of conversation out on the internet about meditations that you can do for everything, right? There's a meditation you can do for clearing your chakras, meditations that you can do for cleaning your Merkaba. There's also this programming your Merkaba that is something that came up in conversation. And, from my perspective, those kinds of things are not necessary. We do not need to work at cleaning our Merkaba, programming our Merkaba. For me, it always shows up like this lifetime is so much simpler than we humans try to make it. We are constantly trying to make it more complex. Every morning I need to get up and I need to meditate. And if I don't spend 15 minutes meditating on programming my Merkaba, then my Merkaba is going to be going all haywire and wild. And, who knows what it's going to be doing when I'm not paying attention. And I like to think that life is just a whole lot more simple than that. And if we're just constantly including the Merkaba and the things that we are cleaning up and the things that we are moving out, then we are doing enough to keep it in good shape and staying ahead of the game. Now remember that with every new moon and every full moon, there are more frequencies that are coming in that are not only helping us with our chakras and the low frequencies that we find in our body, but it's also helping with our Merkaba. It is definitely not the case that the universe has forgotten that we have one. Everybody's got one. Everybody's getting a healing tonight, and we are always working on moving out the low frequencies in every part of our energetic body, whether we know it or not. The beautiful thing about our soul being in charge.
Well, as you were saying that, Bonnie, I was thinking about, I'm going to start wearing my Merkaba on my sleeve. And I was just thinking about how cool it is that we can have awareness of this vehicle, just like we can have awareness of our mental body and our emotional body, and how we can see the connection so that we can heal. And really the whole bottom line of it is to bring more light, to bring in more love, to bring in higher frequencies so we can keep going up in our ascension process. And that's why the Merkaba, which Hadar is also asking if it's connected with the chakras. Well, everything is connected. So yes, absolutely, it's all connected. And how beautiful to be able to know that if you have awareness of the information that you can gather from the Merkaba, that it's going to impact the rest of your systems. And so when you do have something going on physically, you don't have to run for that Advil, or you don't have to run for that antacid. You can actually check in with the information that's available to you. And the last thing I want to say about that is, Bonnie was saying that you could go online, and we're always joking about how there's so much information on the internet, and you just kind of get to the point where like, oh, forget it, I'm not even going to look anymore. When you find all these activations and things that are recommended for you to do with all your chakras, with your systems, with everything. It's really important to check in with your soul and find out if this is a right exercise or a right practice for you. On this call, we bring in a lot of light, and we are checking in with your masters, teachers, and loved ones. Bonnie and I know how to do that. So any downloads that we receive, if your soul is a no for it, you're not going to get that one particular download. But if you're on this call, chances are it's because you want all the downloads, and that's why you're here. There's not a coincidence why you're here. But it's a little bit different when you're going out on the internet and you're searching randomly and you pick here and you pick there. That we get bombarded with all kinds of information. So make sure that you're always closing your eyes and connecting with your heart and asking your soul if this is right for me. Is this right for me? Is this beneficial for me? Is this in my highest and best interest?
That is so on target. I was just hearing that it's about us remembering that everything that we do, we just want to check in. We just want to check in with our soul. And when I decided to go out on the internet and see what they had out there about the Merkaba, I actually went through about 10 or 12 sites that I just like looked at, and I heard no, 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 no. And then I got to one that was like, okay, look at that one. And I looked at it, and it was really short. The information was really like, boom, there. And I was like, oh, that's some great information. Okay. And then go back and search. And it was just like a lot of things that were no's. And the more we practice checking in with our soul, the more we really start to fall into alignment. I know that's going to be part of what's coming up. But I do want to offer up, if there's any other questions about the Merkaba, about the connections to the Merkaba and the light bodies. I love when Hadar asked that question. The reference that I got, and Lily, you're always talking about the lines of connection, was the miles and miles of nerves that we have running through our bodies. Like if we just stretched it all end to end to end, it is 10 times that, 100 times that, the connections that are running through all of our energetic bodies to connect everything together. And it is an amazing, beautiful light show when we have that perspective. I can't personally fathom the amount of nerves that we have if they were end to end. I have a hard time imagining the intestines, let alone something that's like that. But it is amazing, all of those connections that are there. So if you have any other questions, pop it in. Woohoo! So we got Molly going with her colorful geometric configurations. Very cool. You know what? Not many people have heard of the Merkaba. Oh, you know what? We totally forgot about I'm so glad that you said that, Molly, that you popped in, because the Merkaba, one of the things that I found really interesting a long time ago, probably 9 months ago, a year ago, I discovered this connection between Archangel Metatron and the Merkaba.
Yes.
And that's like a really big connection. And for Lily and I, for many people on the call, we know Archangel Metatron as Maitreya, which was another incarnation. And so I just thought it was really cool. Do you have any more information on that, Lily?
Well, Metatron is very much like kind of like the keeper of geometrics, of sacred geometry, is how I relate to Metatron. So there's different archangels and different beings of light are kind of oversee or have like their own specialties, and that's how I always relate to Metatron. Is like that's his specialty, is all the sacred geometry, and which is really what's at the root of all of creation, and what's the formulas that make creation, that build stars and planets and galaxies and bodies, and so it's very, very interesting. Yeah.
And definitely your Merkaba can look like geometric patterns. Molly, we may have talked about it prior to you getting onto the call, that it actually looks like a star tetrahedron. So of course it starts as a geometric, and then you can see all different aspects of it. So absolutely. So I guess what we're going to do, if we don't have any other questions, and certainly if you do have a question, feel free to pop it in, because we don't want you to hold on to a question any longer than you need to, and we can answer it when we have a chance. But I do want to move into some wisdom here. And it actually feels a little bit like teaching, and I'm kind of like, teaching? Oh no. which is funny because that is what I do a lot of. But it's they're giving me this analogy once again about us knowing that we are all, everything is happening to us exactly as it is supposed to happen. That, there are people who sometimes will come up to me and say, I'm so far behind. I'm not doing this nearly at the pace I need to be doing it. I need to be moving faster. How can I get more information? Or there are people who have this sense that they're not doing it right, that they're like, I was working on this particular aspect of my healing and I just know I haven't gotten it right, that I wasn't saying the right words or doing the right things. And there is a constant reminder coming up for me. And so they're telling me to pass that on to all of you. And it's a reminder for me as well, right? That there is no right way to do this. There is no one way that we are all moving through this process. Each one of us, prior to incarnating as a soul, watch the video of our life. I kind of call it the highlight film of our life. And we got a sense of where we were going and how this thing was going to work. But we didn't get every single aspect of it. There isn't a place where it's like, okay, our soul opens a book and goes, okay, now say this. Now answer this. Now make this phone call. Our souls are not doing that, but they have the bigger picture of what we're doing. And there is no such thing as doing it at a certain time or doing it at a certain speed or even doing it incorrectly. And so it's really important for all of us to understand that if you have never heard of the Merkaba before, if you had not a clue what it was and you thought we might have been talking about some Spanish dish, it is totally okay that you showed up and you now found out about it, because that is the perfect timing for you. There isn't a time that was like, oh, I should have gotten that. Why didn't I get that? I mean, I must have been asleep at some point. Instead, it's us understanding that everything happens exactly as it's supposed to. And I absolutely love the divine timing aspect of this. One of the things I love to do is talk about the universal laws, the divine timing and the divine perfection in everything. And it is absolutely fascinating how it all unfolds. They really want me to tell this story, and I'm like, really? Okay, I'm going to tell you this story. I'm forever getting these kinds of messages from them. So I'm going to tell a story about my daughter, and she's absolutely going to love this, because this is the story of her girlfriend has a car whose car has been bummed for 6 months or more, has had problems after problems after problems, and they just were never fixing it. And they always drove my daughter's car. And probably 3 weeks ago, she was stepping on her brakes, and her brakes were soft. So the brake pedal was going more to the floor and wasn't catching nearly in the way it was supposed to be. And so, she calls us, and my husband, David, tells her, you need to take it into the shop. And she takes it into the shop, and she gets a long list of things that are wrong with it. $5,000 worth of things that are wrong with the car. And, she calls us up and she's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to manage all this? And so we have a conversation about how to manage her money and how to choose what's most important. And she ends up, she's going to go and get her brakes fixed. But my husband comes up with the idea of her going someplace else, going to a Midas shop. She actually lives in Virginia. And she's going to take it into the Midas shop. She takes it into the Midas shop, and when she goes to take the car there the night before, she can't find where to drop off the key. It's dark, it's scary. She ends up leaving and not dropping it off. So the next morning, her girlfriend goes with her, and they take both of their cars in. And somehow, magically, Katie decides that she is going to have her car fixed while they're waiting for Sarah's car to be fixed. Well, that's a really good thing, right? It's been like probably 6 months that her car hasn't been really safe to drive. Here's what's really interesting about it is that, it turns out that there is absolutely nothing wrong with Sarah's car. The Midas shop that has the entire list of what's wrong with Sarah's car, looks at every single point, does every single test, can't find a single thing wrong with the car. But it, in fact, is the reason Sarah had the problem was to get Katie's car in to be fixed. Now, was Katie like goofing off and playing around and not getting her car done, or was it divine timing and how it happened? In fact, it was absolutely divine timing and how it happened. Everything unfolds exactly as it's supposed to. Now, if Sarah had gone, oh my God, I can't afford this. How am I going to do this? I'm about to buy a house and blah, 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 blah. And she started throwing a whole bunch of things. She could have really gotten herself worked up about $5,000 worth of car repairs and had a miserable 2 weeks until she finally took the car in and found out that there was absolutely nothing wrong with it. And they're constantly having me reiterate this story because it's a great example of a whole bunch of elements. One, perfect timing. Katie's car got to where it needed to be fixed when it needed to be fixed. There wasn't a problem in it, even though I, as the parent, was like, oh my God, what is wrong with her? Why isn't she, I had plenty of judgment to go around. If anybody needs a little extra judgment, call me about it. And it was certainly that, Sarah had lots of opportunity to get worked up over something. How in the world is she going to be able to afford this? What is going to happen? When in fact, the universe was busy taking care of it all. They needed Sarah to have a problem with her car to get Katie's car fixed. And when you start looking at your life, you will see those exact things unfolding in your own life. I know, Lily, you have had the thing with the car where you were like, I know that this whole car incident happened because this needed to happen, that needed to happen. And all of those things happened exactly as they were supposed to. So instead of us stepping into, oh my gosh, how am I going to be able to afford it, right? That's the idea of lack, or how in the world is this ever going to work out? And all of the possibilities that we can step into, it's us knowing that everything is happening exactly in the time frame it's supposed to. You learning about the Merkaba or the light bodies, or having more access to your clairsentience or your clairvoyance, or any one of the other things that you are looking to get. It's happening exactly in the time it is supposed to happen. I understand the people who are frustrated because they can't psychically see. I understand the people who are like, why can't I hear my soul name? I totally understand that, because there are loads of things. I have a very long list of things that I would really like to have happen. And as they start to happen, I'm thinking, do I really want that to happen? Because I'm not so sure that I really want that as much as I thought I did, right? So it is really important for us to know that it is always happening exactly as it's supposed to, that there is a rhyme and there is a reason. For all those people who say there's no rhyme or reason, there absolutely is a rhyme and there absolutely is a reason. So I appreciate you letting me tell this story again. Do not call Sarah and say, I heard all about your car. Lily, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Oh my gosh. Well, there's two really great things I love about your story. There's several things, but the two that I really want to come up with is the analogy of the car and the vehicle, because Hadar said something about that in Hebrew, Merkaba means carriage, or like a horse and carriage. And it is considered a light vehicle, just like the physical body is considered a light vehicle. The emotional body is considered a light vehicle, and the mental body is considered a light vehicle, just like as well as the astral body. So the Merkaba is another vehicle of light through which our soul expresses itself through the universe. And like all the light bodies and all the light vehicles, it's packed with information. So I love that your story had the analogy of a vehicle in it. And then the other thing is that, oh my gosh, the divine timing, Bonnie, as you were telling the story, I was thinking about how if I only knew about the Merkaba when I was in 3rd grade, if I only would have known about the Merkaba when I was in high school, or when I was making a decision to marry the wrong guy. And the reason why I'm saying that is because the Merkaba, like all our light bodies, is filled with information. But you know what? We're going to get that information when our soul is ready to have us connect with that information. when it's time for us to step into those higher frequencies, and it is all about frequency. We're here in this physical realm, in this physical dimension, in order to gain certain experiences. And we're here to experience duality. And part of the duality of the knowing of something is the not knowing of something. So it's just perfect, your story, because it definitely helps us to remember that not knowing is just as powerful as knowing. In fact, it might even be more powerful than knowing, because the not knowing is what gets us to the knowing. And that's so beautiful. I love that. And so what's coming in for me as I'm connecting with that message is such a beautiful message. And as I'm really, right now, I'm experiencing a huge connection with this Merkaba and what it means for all of us. Whether you're listening to this call live, or if you're listening to it on a recording, or like Bonnie said earlier, or you're doing both. Because when you're on this call live and then you listen to it again, you feel something different, because each time that you're on this call, your frequency gets raised. Your frequency gets raised just by showing up. So the next time you hear it, your frequency is higher, and therefore you're going to hear and experience something that you didn't experience on the first time. So as I'm connecting with this information, and why is it important, Justin? It's just, I'm going back to several of the questions that some of you brought up, like Rosanna's question about, well, how can I use this in my practical life? The Merkaba seems like something so impractical, so what? We got this tetrahedron, geometric box or circle, spinning around us. And so what? What does that mean for me physically? And so as I asked that question to the masters, teachers, and loved ones here for this community, first of all, I'm feeling a tremendous amount of love. And they're also, this community, and this is really information about all of you. They're telling me that this community is very playful. There's like a childlike quality to all of you, just to all of us. I'm going to include Bonnie and me in this. There's like this curiosity, this endless curiosity that we have. And they're acknowledging that, and they want us to know that they are so excited to be able to help us with that curiosity, because they really are here to give us information and to help us to nourish and to quench that curiosity. And every single person on this call came here because for some reason you want to know what the Merkaba is. You want to know what the Tuesday night call is going to deliver for you today. And so they want us to understand that everything in this experience that we have, everything in this life that we have as an experience, is absolutely valuable. And so they want to now paint for us what the value of the Merkaba is. And they're going through all of this because they want to build this up to the key nuggets for you to take home with you. So if you could all connect with your heart right now, because again, they really want us to connect for ourselves. So I'm going to be saying some words that they're delivering, but it's really important for you to feel it for yourself. It's important for you to feel it in your heart and to feel the information coming from your records, from your loved ones, masters and teachers that are here to give you what they want to give to you as nuggets of wisdom that are going to help you in your life, that are going to help you to become more joyous. So as I say these words, you might want to close your eyes. You might just want to connect with your heart. And now imagine a beautiful gold light coming through from the top of your Merkaba. Just imagine yourself sitting inside of your Merkaba. And your Merkaba is this beautiful light. It is like let's call it a cylinder, a cylindrical shape around you that is all light. So allow yourself to feel the light around you. And allow yourself to see the tetrahedron shapes and other geometric shapes that come in and out. And some of you that do see are probably seeing a lot of geometrics coming through. I'm seeing formulas, I'm seeing all kinds of shapes, and they're multidimensional. So instead of a square, you would see a cube, and I'm seeing them floating around. So just allow yourself to see them with your imagination. When you use your imagination, you're actually seeing with your third eye. You need to know this. So allow yourself to see what is being shown to you. And then allow yourself to be bathed. They're saying that the Merkaba, like our other light vehicles, the physical body, the emotional, mental, and astral body, even though we do not come to each lifetime with that same vehicle, there are components of each one of these vehicles that is energetic, that moves with our soul. Our soul takes little particles of energy from each one of these souls that contain within them memories. The memories and the information and the wisdom that we have gathered through our experiences in different lifetimes, and they get stored in that energetic field of that body. So the light body, called the physical body, has a genetic code to it that is, we call it DNA, we call, that's where the information is stored. But in the emotional body, there's also a correspondent DNA that is emotional and carries with it emotional molecules. And in the mental body, light body, there is the correspondent DNA that carries with it mental molecules or let's say thought constructs and thought molecules. And the Merkaba also has information and a molecular structure, because everything in the universe has a molecular structure. It's all energy and it's all matter. And you've heard me describe it before. Matter, as we know it physical, the molecules are just closer together. But in the ether space, the molecules are wider apart, but it's all molecular structure. The entire universe is made up of the same exact stuff. And so the Merkaba has within it a molecular structure that's particular to our soul. Our soul actually had a say-so in creating the Merkaba, along with the assistance of the angelic realm and, of course, Source Creator. And so as we move through one lifetime to another, that Merkaba light vehicle in that lifetime, let's say 1,000 years ago, we had a lifetime, and whatever the experience was that we had in this vehicle called the Merkaba, which carries with information that feeds the other vehicles and informs the other vehicles. This is what they want us to know, is that the Merkaba informs. It's a participant in informing our experience. And as it informs our experience, it forms our experience. So there is an informing of the experience around us from one lifetime to another. And that informing of experience becomes part of the molecular structure. So when we come into the next lifetime, part of that information, it's a formation of our experience, a memorable formation of our experience, part of the molecular structure that is carried from one lifetime to another in those light bodies. But they take on a different form because now we've raised our consciousness, we've raised our awareness, and the material, the molecular structure with which we can now work with is a higher quality, is a higher frequency. So the bodies are going to look different. They're going to be slightly different molecularly, but they're going to have within them something that's kind of similar. So to go back to Bonnie's analogy of a vehicle, when a car maker makes a model, they make the same model 2 years later, 3 years later, and sometimes there's no difference between the model of 1 year and the model of the next year, but 3 years down the road, all of a sudden, it's the same model, but it's highly improved. And that's kind of what they want us to experience, that we have like the same kind of model light bodies for our soul, but they're improved with the formation or information that we've gathered through the experience of all the previous lifetimes. So to that degree, it's important for us to understand through awareness what is happening with these light bodies so that we can have more of a say-so in it from a place of consciousness. The more we have a say-so in it from a place of consciousness, the more we can actually impact the experiences that we're having. And most of us are not really interested in having experiences that are thrown at us almost by default. We're interested in having experiences that we know that we're creating and that we know we are kind of sort of managing, that we're bringing forth with our intention. None of us intend to have a lifetime of poverty or a lifetime of dis-ease. We want a lifetime of abundance and joy and playfulness and love in our life. That's what we really want. So what they really want us to go walk away with from this call is that awareness of the Merkaba, as well as awareness of all our light bodies and how that information is gathered and created and informing us in our experience. It really does help for us to be aware of it and to be in a conscious connection with it, because then this way we're going to have much, much greater influence in the experiences that we're having from one lifetime to another. And there's another huge download coming in for everybody right now. Oh my God, it's another big one. This is a huge, wow. It's a violet flame quartz. I have not seen violet flame. I've seen violet flame a lot, but not violet flame quartz. And this is directly coming. It's directly coming from the top of each one of ours Merkaba is coming through a violet flame quartz frequency being downloaded. And it's actually coming directly from source. It feels really, really strong and just very sweet and gentle and strong at the same time. It's filled with love, and it's filled with beautiful, just high frequencies of unconditional love and support for all of us. Wow. Whew. So hopefully you guys are feeling it like I am, because it's pretty massive. Oh, wow. Oh. Cool. And the last thing that they want to say to all of us is they want to thank us. They want to express to us their gratitude. These are the light beings of the angelic realm and the Akashic realm, and all the ascended masters that work with us. They want to acknowledge us and thank us for the work that we're doing, because we are making a difference for humanity. And we are helping to raise the frequency of the collective by raising our own frequency. And if we focus on raising our own frequency, eventually humanity will be at a place of ascension. And that's really what it's all about. So they want to thank us. And so all of you, let's just feel that gratitude in our heart, and let's kind of pat ourselves on the shoulder and know that we've done a good thing today.
Absolutely. Woohoo! That is, those downloads are amazing. I love all those. And I love the analogy, Lily, that you gave. And, as you talk, I write notes, and I'm like, I understand that one so well in my head, but to translate it is, it'll just be interesting to watch how I can translate it, because it was just so amazing, so clear. I love that. So we are doing this again next week. Have no fear. We will be back here next week, Tuesday, February 12th. We're going to be talking about Earth and cosmic channels. Those are really fascinating, a very cool aspect of this energetic body that we have. If you live in North Palm Beach, in the gardens in the North Palm Beach County area, even if you live in Miami, just drop everything and be at
Okay, so I don't know what's going on, that Bonnie froze. Okay, so I'm going to jump in there right there. Okay. So definitely something's going on with our recording or with our connection. I don't know if it's Bonnie or if it's me, but just so everybody knows, next Wednesday
that she is doing a love. Go ahead, you do it.
Wow, something's going on with that. So in Juno Beach at Mystic Yoga, we are going to be doing an Akashic Records class focused on romantic love. We're going to be bringing in downloads and information for you. If you are interested in reigniting your current relationship or bringing forth a romantic partner in your life, come out and play with us at Mystic Yoga next Wednesday from 7 to 9 p.m. Don't miss it. It's going to be amazing.
Yes, absolutely, Karen. It is too many downloads. It's always interesting to watch that happen when I'm not supposed to be talking about something, when Lily's not supposed to be talking about something. We're actually doing a new workshop series. It's going to be The Voice of Your Soul. It's going to be starting on February 22nd. Love that, 2/22. On Friday night, it's a program that we're going to be doing once a month. That information is going to be coming out this week, so you can look for that. There's also a 12-week program that we're going to be doing that's accessing your divine channels, and that's going to be another powerful class. How do I do this? 4 sections and 4-week programs. I probably didn't say that well. Go ahead, Lily. Pick up the pieces there.
Well, we talked about listening to our soul. For a lot of us, it's hard to distinguish your soul voice from your ego voice. And that's what we really want to teach you, as well as opening up to your psychic powers, your psychic information, all the information that's there that you've been carrying for so many years, and opening those gifts, activating all your divine channels. So that's what all our programs are going to be about this year, and we're very excited about them. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes, it's been such a wonderful, beautiful evening with you. Thank you. Everybody have a great week. Have a good night.
Good night.